Hey Internet, it's Bravo back with another Gloomhaven terrain vid, and it's been a while, so apologies for the delay. I've had a lot going on, which is kind of why I'm putting this video out. I just want to bring you up to speed with what's been happening. A few exciting things have happened to me in the past few months in terms of terrain and Gloomhaven in general. So I'll go over them one by one. Starting with, I guess, GenCon 2019. So I don't really know where to start. I guess going back a few months now, as you would know, anyone that, well, of the 60 odd people who watch my channel, God bless you, you would know that I post photos and videos of my terrain builds to, YouTube, Facebook, Reddit, Board Game Geek, etc. And yeah, I think it was in May of this year, Bryce Johnson, the marketing and operations manager for Cephalofair Games, who obviously make Gloomhaven, he reached out to me with an email. He'd seen one of my videos on Reddit, I believe it was, and so began some emails back and forth about the possibility of me providing some one-off demo levels to Cephalofair to use for demo games of Gloomhaven at GenCon. So that was obviously pretty exciting. He asked me to provide a quote for a couple of the builds that I've done. Not so much designing or printing anything for them, just more so he was interested in a few of my builds, which he let me know about. And yeah, I provided them a price to basically buy those builds off me. And long story short, after a couple of Skype interviews back and forth, we agreed on a deal. And yeah, basically the money that they paid me, I used to fund a return flight over to Indianapolis. So at the start of August, I flew over and took part in GenCon, took my terrain over with me and provided that to them. It was two one-off demos, which through consultation with Bryce and Isaac Childres, we settled on a configuration and a layout, and I'll throw some photos of those up at the moment, which you'll be hopefully seeing now. So you'll see one was kind of an outdoor area leading into like a cavern, through a cavern entrance into an indoor sort of stone tile cabin room with a few water hexes. So that was one. I had a bit of fun with that. Ended up printing out like a lever type thing to put at the back of the room, which through talking to Isaac, he ended up making that into an objective for the scenario. Someone had to get through to the back to shut the lever off, and someone else had to climb into the dragon fountain to retrieve an item, basically, was the premise of that one. So that was cool. And the second one, Bryce really liked Temple of Elements, which is a build I've done previously. People from this channel hopefully would remember that one. That's probably my favorite build I've done to date in terms of creativity. So I provided a Temple of the Elements, like an abridged version of that, essentially. It was a main, like a starting room leading into two chambers, one either side of a large building that I provided as part of the commission. And one was a flame demon room, the other was a wind demon room. So again, that was a lot of fun to put together. And yeah, so I took them over with me to GenCon and was part of the GenCon booth team for Cephalofair, which was really exciting. It was heaps of fun. I got to meet Bryce Johnson and Isaac Childres and hang out with them basically for 4 days. And stayed. They were even good enough to put me up in their hotel room with them, because basically I wouldn't have been able to afford to go had I had to pay for my own accommodation. Obviously being GenCon and it was kind of last minute, prices were just huge to get anything in town. So they helped me out by letting them stay with them in sort of one big room with 2 queen beds in it. So I can say that I've heard Isaac Childres and Bryce Johnson snore. And yeah, it was pretty cool to hang out with them and just talk Gloomhaven and all sorts of stuff with them. Both really cool guys. Yeah, the terrain was cool to be able to provide that to them, see it there on display in their booth was one thing that was very humbling, but to be a part of the demo teams to run games on that terrain for the 4 days was amazing. It was so rewarding to see not only my terrain on display, but more so new players to the game sitting down, getting excited about the game and watching them play it on terrain that I'd printed and painted was, yeah, I got a real kick out of that. So yeah, it's something to look back on and remember. It was a lot of fun, and I'm very thankful to be able to have done it. So there's my little exhibitor badge from GenCon. It's a little keepsake, which now hangs in my garage next to my 3D printers. We'll get to that shortly. One other thing, Isaac gifted us all of the booth staff with the Gloomhaven Forgotten Circles expansion, which he personally signed, so that was kind of cool too. So that's GenCon and the commissions that I did. And around about the same time as that happened, I'd been thinking about taking my hobby, which I very much enjoy, and dipping my toes in the possibility of selling painted terrain to people who might want to buy it. You know, people who enjoy Gloomhaven or other games for that matter, such as, you know, Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, Warhammer, Underworlds, anything that's hex-based. You know, whether people would want to buy some terrain that's already painted and printed so they don't have to get their hands dirty. You know, whether they don't enjoy doing it or whether they don't feel they're skilled enough at it or whatever the reason, whether they're too busy, too time poor, whether there's a market out there for it. Not that I'll be quitting my day job anytime soon. I obviously work full time. I have kids, have a wife. So not getting ahead of myself, I certainly won't be putting in my resignation papers anytime soon to my day job. But I've always wondered about, you know, taking my hobby and getting some sort of small income stream as a secondary source of income from it. So that being said, when this stuff happened with Cephalofair, getting paid, you know, enough to fly myself over to the convention was pretty cool. And that got me thinking, you know, it's time to give it a go and see whether I could make something out of it. So myself and someone who's a very good friend to me now, Lambo Amazeballs, as he would be known by many, also known as Jeff Lambert. He's from Utah. He makes kick-ass terrain as well. I've been a big fan of his since I first got into this at the start of the year. He's someone that sort of inspired me to follow his lead and start printing and painting my own terrain. We'd been chatting a fair bit. We'd played a Skype game of Gloomhaven together due to our mutual love of the game, and through our respect, I guess, of each other's terrain, we sort of realised that we both had considered printing and painting terrain to sell on the side to anyone that might be interested in getting that extra immersion from their gaming. So we've started Skyping probably around about the same time as GenCon happened. And yeah, we decided, hey, let's give it a go. Let's join forces, collaborate on some terrain and see if we can't, you know, get some buyers that might be interested in buying some packs of our terrain. So, and so was born Talisman Sabre terrain. That's us. We're just starting out. Talisman Sabre is the name of some war games that happen in Australia every 2 years involving Australian and US troops. I've got family in the armed services. I'm a bit of a jet tragic. I've always been interested in military history. So that was just an operation I was aware of, and I thought that's a cool way to incorporate a name that sort of acknowledges that Jeff's from the United States, I'm from here in Australia, and it has that sort of fantasy play on it being Talisman Sabre as well. So anyway, that's a bit of background as to where the name came from. But yeah, what you're looking at here in front of you is a mock-up, basically just a one-off demo scenario that I've put together from the terrain that we've been furiously designing, printing and painting over the last few months as we get ready to roll out for our first packs. So I'll include links to this video, in this video, we have a Facebook page and we have a YouTube channel at the moment, and maybe a website down the track. We didn't want to get too far ahead of ourselves with a website before we'd even establish whether there was any interest in our products. But what we're going to be offering is fully painted or unpainted if you want to paint it yourself, but packs of terrain that will be fully compatible with Gloomhaven, all 95 scenarios from the core campaign, or Pathfinder, D&D, Warhammer Underworlds, any other tabletop game that uses hexes. You can buy our terrain fully painted using open lock clips, which clip together, and just get straight into some really cool terrain on your table to play on. No need to roll your sleeves up and get your hands dirty. So that's pretty exciting. We haven't launched yet. We're probably about 80% of the way through finalizing our packs of terrain. So yeah, stay tuned basically. Hopefully, I would hope in the next month or so, we'll have our initial packs finished. They'll be available for sale on a first come, first served basis. And from there, it will basically be by commission. You will put an order in, pay a 50% deposit. We'll complete your order. We'll ship it, and we'll be shipping from both the US and Australia, depending on where you are. And then, yeah, pricing is still to be confirmed because we haven't finished a full pack yet. We don't know exactly where our price point would be. So we hope to have that information out in the next few weeks, I guess. So yeah, if it's something that interests you, definitely check us out. Follow us on Facebook, like us, subscribe up to our YouTube channel. We have a couple of promo videos that we've done showcasing our terrain, and I'll give you a better look at what we have here. So a couple of different hex types, obviously. Numerous different walls and columns, doors. We're really happy with how it's looking. We've tried to come up with some pretty fresh ideas and some fresh colours. So you can see there's, you've got the wood, a blue stone hex type, sort of a browny red hex type there. And we've got one other hex type to come, an earth grass hex. And just a couple of other small pieces to finish off, and then we'll have a full pack ready. Things like barrels and tables will be an extra pack that we will add on down the track. It'll be basically an overlay pack. It won't be every overlay from the game, but it'll be an assortment of the main ones we think you'll get the most use out of. And it'll just add a bit of extra bling to what is already, I think, a pretty cool looking pack. It'll just give it that little extra bit of immersion and detail, if that's something you want. Obviously the buildings in the back there are just for effect. They're all various printable scenery and other sources for those. All of this stuff you're looking at, apart from the buildings in the back, has been printed and painted quite recently. Then you also have all of that, and there's still heaps more in the garage, more hexes, more walls. Yeah, a lot of stuff. Been putting a lot of time into it because, as I said, I do work full-time, so between work and all this printing and painting and a family with 2 young kids, it's been pretty crazy, but it's been a lot of fun. And hopefully there'll be some people out there, I guess, who are interested in buying some of this terrain to pimp out their own tables. So we'll see how we go. But thanks for watching, happy gaming, and hopefully I'll get to bring you another playthrough very soon on my cool new Talisman Sabre terrain.